When you're in this position for such a long time, you lose your confidence, you lose your ambition, you lose your focus, you lose your motivation, you lose almost everything. You lose family members, you lose your sanity, you lose your morals, maybe. Like, you'll lose a lot in this situation because it's such an unnatural position for somebody to be in. To be at a certain age and to be a male and not to be out there just conquering the world, it's just it's a very humiliating feeling. It's like it's not humble, it's beyond humble. It's humiliating, right? To be in this position, and when you don't have any type of help, you don't have any type of support, you don't have any type of structure that can really put you in a position to win, it becomes brutal because you're going to need some type of support in this life, man, and you're going to need some emotional support and some physical support, like emotional and physical support from a significant other, from a woman. You're going to need to have a cool friend group of people that you can talk with, laugh with, and share ideas with, and share dreams, goals, and aspirations, and then you're going to need a loving, caring family that's alive. You're going to want to have your grandmother and your grandfather and your aunties and uncles. You want them alive, right? And you want to have a good, wonderful life. Like, that's a quote unquote blessing, to be able to be successful and have everybody in your family alive and successful, and they get to see your success, they get to share in your success, you get to buy them things, and like if you really care for them and love them, if they loved you, you get to support them and all that. But if they didn't support you and didn't care about you, well, you just got to return the favor, you just got to return the temperature, right? But a lot of us in this situation, we don't really have any type of support, really. Like, it's just us. Like, we're by ourselves, we're isolated. We may talk to a few associates here and then, and here now or whatever, but it's not the same as if when we were younger, right? And to be really successful in this world, everybody that you see is successful. They have a network of friends that each bring like their own type of cohesion to the situation. So like they bring their own special type of abilities to the situation, and they're able to form these networks, and they're able to like build these, like, that's why, like, in college, like, if people that went to college or whatever, they join those fraternities or whatever. Those fraternities, they open up different types of ways to pretty much get in positions that other people can't get in, you know and you got to do some weird stuff in those fraternities. You got to do a lot of weird stuff in those fraternities, and pretty much is getting you ready for, like, pretty much the secret societies people really join in real life that are kind of like hidden behind the scenes or whatever. But when you really think about it, you always going to see the most evil, wicked, and bad people that get the support, that get the love. Meanwhile, the good people, the people that just stay focused on their own and, just mind their own business, they don't get no support. They don't get no love. Have you noticed that? Like, you'll have like somebody in the family where you have somebody going to prison or they're going to jail, and that person will get more support. Like, will get more support, have people kind of help them out or whatever, help them get a job, help them get on their feet, help them get their first apartment. They'll help that person more than the person that is mentally ill, suffering, and that's a neat, that's trapped in the room or whatever, or the person that it doesn't bother nobody, is respectful, is nice, doesn't cause any problems. The only problems is he doesn't have a job or whatever. Like, they'll rather take the person that's a deviant, a criminal, with a massive criminal rap sheet and all that. They'll rather take sides with that person. And the person that just needs a little help, just needs a little female attention, just needs a little confidence boost, that person gets ignored. In fact, that person gets targeted. In fact, that person gets emotionally and physically abused. It's just not right. It's just wicked, honestly. You know, the wickedness in this world is vast. It's just, it's incomprehensible how evil this world is, and how there's so many different types of factors that go into this world that make it evil. Just like if you look at the food, the way that we acquire food, the way that we have to wake up every day and go to a place where we're surrounded by our enemies, and backstabbers and liars and deceivers, people that just love causing chaos. They just love to do it just because they think it's funny, you know. And you got to be bothered with that every single day. It's like this world is just designed to torture you, man. Like, I can't keep preaching it enough, man. I have to keep preaching it because so many people are preaching the total opposite. You got people preaching out there saying that, oh, God is good, and if any bad things happen, well, that's just the will of God. Well, you're right, it is His will, and His will seems to be always wicked, you know. And He seems to favor certain people. Certain people seem to get all these blessings, you know. They get money, they get wealth, they get women, they get cars, they get things like handed to them in life, pretty much. And then other people, they got to struggle for it. They got to go through hell just to have the basics. Like, you have a 16-year-old be given a brand new Mercedes Benz in high school. Meanwhile, most people, it'll take them to their, you know, at least 25 or to their 30s to be able to buy a Mercedes Benz and pay it all off and not have any type of car payments or anything like that. Or you know, it's going to take a while to try to buy it and own it, right? Because most people want to have car payments, right? It's just normal. But, and then you got to think about the upkeep of the car, you know. Since it's a Benz, you know, like, you know, if it's one of those newer models, you know, you can't really work on the car yourself, you know, depending on the model. You gotta take it to the shop and you gotta get special resources. Like they just complicate things just to complicate it, you know. If you notice that, like, the whole future is just gonna be a mess. And then people like us, you know, with no support system, with no type of, you know, base, you know, it's going to be extremely difficult. Like, it's hard to survive a battlefield by yourself. Hell, it's hard to survive a battlefield with an army, and you got to take on a whole battlefield by yourself. So it's like, people like us, we got to do the impossible, and it gets tiring. It gets sickening. Like, you get tired of always going through things in life. You get tired of always going through, like, different situations that seem designed to take away your confidence. They seem customized to you, number one. And number two, they seem designed to make you as insignificant as possible, to take away your ability to create. That's what I noticed. It's like, if you go to a job interview or something like that, it feels like a big mogging ritual. You know, it just feels almost humiliating in a way. And it's like, wow, why does it feel like this? And like, you can just feel people's energy. People are not being real. People are being fake. They're wearing a mask. And it's like, wow, you gotta be surrounded by fake people all day. Like me, I'm a type of person where I like people that are real. I like people that are alive. I like people that got soul. I like people that got flavor. And I get along with people like that. I get along with people that see the world for what it really is, you know? But the problem is, it's hard for people like us to form, you know, communities, because there's so many traitors and backstabbers and just bad people out there, bad, nefarious elements, that it's hard to try to build. So, like, if you can find like-minded people that you're cool with, you know, try to build with them, man, because it's hard to find like-minded people that you share, like, a lot of similarities with. That's kind of hard to find nowadays. So when you find that, bro, you got to be real, you know, and we got to support each other in this situation, you know, like, all of us. Like, if you find somebody in this situation, or, you know, and you guys talk or whatever, you know, if that person's going through a bad day, try to make their day better, whatever, you know, play a multiplayer video game. I don't know, you know, like, we already go through a lot of stuff in life, like guys like us in the situation, and having mental instability, having emotional irregulations and fluctuations, and in integration with poverty and all the other things we have to go through, being a disappointment to people that we love, feeling like we let people down, feeling like we'll never achieve anything, and then having a chip on our shoulders, thinking that we have to prove something to people. It's just, there's a myriad of emotions that a lot of us go through in this situation, and it affects our life, man. It affects what we do. It affects what we don't do. It affects our dreams. It affects what we believe, what we can do, you know. And then you look at the spiritual aspect of things. It's like, well, if in this life I had to go through a lot of hell and it was pretty terrible for me, what makes me think the next life is going to be any better? Or the next dimension I go through, you know, could be another type of hell. It's just, why does a hell even exist in the first place? Why does evil spirits exist? Why does evilness and darkness even exist in the first place? Like, why? because darkness and wickedness and evil, it has done nothing but cause trouble upon the world. It's why you have politicians that they'll make $100 million a year, and these politicians, some people that vote for them don't even have a place to live, right? But they voted for these politicians thinking that it was going to change anything. But these politicians have already been bought and paid for by certain elements that have a substantial amount of money and monetary gains and shekels. And these people, they pretty much are able to manipulate the world and control the world in a certain fashion. There's a reason why a lot of us are suffering today. A lot of this has been orchestrated. A lot of us, we tried. We tried hard, to try to stay afloat in this world, bro. You did the right things, man. And it seems like the people that did the right things, going to school, working jobs every day, seem like they're being punished. And the people that did the wrong things, making an OnlyFans, making, all this other stuff and like doing crazy little TikTok dances and videos, like there's people that will take clips from like iShowSpeed and people like that. And like, they'll take those people's clips and then they'll go on like TikTok and then they'll like re-upload those clips. And then these people will be making like thousands of dollars from that. And I'm like, how could you how is that even allowed? Like, how is that not like breaking some rules on TikTok or whatever? It's weird that people find these ways of getting it. And, you can't really hate the hustle, but it's just like, eventually the platforms are going to come down with Thor's hammer on stuff like that because they don't want you to have no type of financial mobility that can lead to mental tranquility. I'll say that again. They don't want you to have any type of financial mobility that will lead to mental tranquility, because once you have mental tranquility and mental stability, you can think with clarity. You can start to think. Have you ever wondered why whenever it's quiet, whenever you're in a good mood and it's quiet and it's silent, you're able to think, you're able to plan things out, you're able to sit back and kind of meditate, and you're able to see the world for what it really is. Like, that's a privilege nowadays. Like, having peace and quiet is a privilege. It's like having peace and quiet is like a privilege for the rich, for pretty much, because a lot of people, when they go home, they got family members, they got children, they got this, they got that, they got like other type of, responsibilities around them that make a lot of noise, but just to have that peace and that quiet where it's just nothing but you, yourself, and I, yeah, you can have that. But the problem is you have to go back to work, right? When you're a millionaire, when you're somebody that's successful, you can spend a lot of time, a substantially amount with more time doing what you love and gaining more deeper insight about yourself, because you don't have to bow to nobody. You don't have to walk around eggshells and all that. It's difficult to try to build when you're always walking around eggshells, when you're always in a situation where it feels like anything can happen, anything can go off, anything can pop off, and it makes you anxious, it makes you nervous, it makes you like makes you worried, right? So a lot of us, we do have talents, because I've seen like people have sent me all types of artwork and stuff. Like, there's a lot of good people that are talented. It's just they have no support system, they have no community, right? It's absolutely crazy. Like, in order to get people to even try to listen to my music, I had to like literally, build um um a men's mental health channel, pretty much, and building this men's mental health channel is that people just got to listen to my videos and got to relate to me, and then now they'd be more interested to listen to my music, right? Rather than just me coming and just playing the music. It's like, hey, who's this guy? They may like it, but there's no real connection, right? So look at what you like. Look at like people like me, or like all the things I have to go through just to get people to try to listen to my music or whatever. Meanwhile, you'll have some imbecile, make a song that's just, it makes no sense at all. And then he gets a couple of, some chicks to dance to it or whatever. And then boom, it blows up on TikTok or whatever, or they pay a lot of money and it blows up. It's just, I don't know, bro. It's like a dice. It's like a roll of the dice, but there's definitely something that's controlling the dice, right? It's a roll of the dice, but the dice are definitely being controlled by some hidden element that hides in the shadows, and it does these indirect battles towards us. It's weird, man. Like, I seriously believe in the archons and the demiurge, theory or whatever, right? Like, I believe that there's beings from another dimension from the Gnostic text, because you hear about the Bible, you hear about it in Hinduism, you hear about it in Chinese religious practices, Japanese religious practices, hell, German religious practice. Like you hear about it all over the world. That humanity, like in every religion, it talks about humanity interacting with beings from pretty much different dimensions, or like giant type beings, reptilian like beings, beings made of light, beings that had space travel, spacecraft, or whatever. Like these are things that are written down, and people think it's just like metaphors or whatever. But what if it was literal? That changes the whole scope of history. As like something doesn't want us to know the truth. Like in this dimension, there's things that are being hidden from us. So imagine what's being hidden from us in the spiritual dimension. Imagine all the things that we don't know about, that we should know about, that's being hidden from us. So that right there lets you know that this God or whatever is not a good being. It's trying to hide things from us. Like you don't like if you're trying to hide things from somebody, that means you're not up to. It means you're up to no good. That's what that means. And when you're up to no good, you're doing something that you know you have no business doing, but you're doing it because you think you can get away with it, and there won't be no consequences for your actions, right? It's crazy, man. Like, those commercials, bro. Like they're just watching those commercials that come on, and it shows people smiling, they're happy, they're in the backyard eating barbecue, and they're dancing, and it's just and there's like maybe like a beer commercial or an orange juice commercial or something like that, and then like you look at people, like everybody's smiling, everybody's just happy, and I'm looking like, where on earth is that? Where on earth are people that happy where they're just smiling like that nonstop, and it's just everybody's looking at each other smiling, they're happy, they're dancing, and it's just like that's just so unrealistic, And I guess it depends. I guess some people live lives like that, but that's not us in this position, right? To see people just so happy with life, and it's just like it seems weird, and that's a damn shame. That's how you know that you've been going through it for a long time. We're seeing people that are, even if they're pretending because it's commercial, but even in real life, you may see them. You may go to the restaurant. Like, you guys ever been to a restaurant and it's somebody's birthday? They be like, "Happy birthday!" And then they start singing "Happy Birthday" to the person at the restaurant. You guys ever see that happen? Like, it's been a few times in my life where I go to the restaurant and it's like somebody's birthday, and like they get like a cake, and the waiters come and they sing "Happy Birthday" and they blow the candles out or whatever. You know, it's it's very interesting, man. Like how this world works. It seems like there has to always be somebody in a subservient position for others to benefit from. Like the world is built off of that, and it's been built that way for thousands upon thousands of years. Where people that were considered, on a different type of social hierarchy, positioned in a different branch on a social hierarchy, these people seem to be, pretty much expendable in a certain way to the powers that be. So the powers that be really don't care about these people, and you can see it now. Look at all the technological advancements we have right now, and you're telling me that it's hard for them to build something for young men between the ages of like 18 and like 35 or something like that, like men in between that age range. There's no type of real program, like there's no type of rebuilding of American infrastructure, because a lot of American infrastructure, roads and bridges, a lot of it is pretty much falling away in a lot of parts of America. Why don't they invent some type of new, construction business or something like that, and hire a bunch of people between the ages of 18, 35, 18 and 40 or 55, whatever. Hire a bunch of men who you say that you guys say that there's plenty of jobs, or they don't want to work or whatever. Why don't you have jobs for them so they can find a job, and then make it more affordable for apartments, and make it more affordable for groceries, and make it more affordable to find, a significant other and start a family, right? Like you have to incentivize people. That's how I know whoever's running this is it's like anti-human. It's like they're doing things that are just totally 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 evil towards people, like towards a human being. It's like if you put some. It's like if you take an alien and reptilian, and then you make them the head of the head of the government, and then you wonder why the government are doing just these weird things. It's because it's not ran by a human. It's ran by some interdimensional evil being, and it sounds crazy, but that's why you have the CIA and the FBI. That's why they have classified secret bases on the ground. They call them sensitive installations, and some of these sensitive installations they contain beings which some people will call alien or whatever. But a lot of these beings are interdimensional beings from different realities, and some of them are from this reality, right? And it gets deep. I know it sounds ridiculous, and of course, because this is not something that you talk to in polite company. This is something people hear and they call you crazy, they call you a conspiracy theorist, but they haven't done any real research and analyzation themselves. Besides watching some YouTube documentaries, you have to go through it. Like I've experienced strange lights in the sky. I've experienced strange beings in the room with me. I've experienced seeing things at night. Like I've experienced voices and footsteps and being growled at, and there's nothing in the room, but something growls at me, and I look and there's nothing there, right? Like, and then I got the feeling of being watched, like wherever I go in the house, and then you hear this tapping, on the walls, or it's called rapping. Like traditionally, that's what it's called when a spirit taps on the walls, like whenever you hear that tapping, like wherever you go, you hear like a random tapping. Wherever you go, that's called rapping. It's like an old English word for like tapping on the walls. If it's a spirit, it's called rapping. That's funny though, right? But when you hear that tapping and then you start feeling like you're being watched everywhere you go, like people think we're crazy, but I know there's definitely something going on that's supernatural, and I bet the government knows a lot more, but they're not telling because they don't want to scare the crap out of people, right? But still, it's a very crazy life, man, like to say the least. And a lot of people in a bad position just need a little bit of help. They just need some type of support system. You need that emotional support. And like you need, like, a lot of people in this situation need to have first they need to be able to like find a way to make money, so have a good job. And then they need some emotional healing. They need to find a significant other. They need to find a partner that truly loves them for them, so they can get some emotional healing. And then third, you need peace and tranquility, right? Like a lot of us need healing, and we need about 15 years. Yeah, 15, 20 years of just pure healing. But do you think we're going to get that in this world? Or more than likely, we're going to get 15 to 20 or 40 or 50 years of pure hell and pure agony. It's absolutely ridiculous, the things that we have to go through in this world, where it really seems like it's designed to break you in every shape and form and fashion. And it's relentless. It's merciless. There's no mercy. There's no begging for help. There's no throwing in the white flag or the white towel. Like there's none of that. It's a constant battle. It's a perpetual battlefield. And the more the more that the older I get, the more I see the world for what it really is. The more I sit back and I just watch and I say, on payday, when you get paid, like after you done worked hard all week or a couple of weeks and you get your paycheck, it feels great, right? You get your paycheck, you may get your favorite food, you may get some kush, you may get your favorite, you may get the new video game you want, whatever. But then you got to pay bills or whatever. Then you pay the bills, and the next thing you know, you're broke. And then you realize how free you really are, And then that's when you come to the realization that money is the only true freedom, point blank period. Because when you run out of money, you run it like you can't have a house, you can have no food, you can have no clothes, you have no place to go. You're on the streets. And then now they're pretty much making it illegal to be homeless, damn near. And a lot of places, they don't like having people that don't have a place to go, to be in the park late at night, to sleep in the parks, to sleep. You know how people are. Then genuinely, you do have some people that are a little off their rocker. People that are mentally unstable, and they're dangerous. So you got to keep a wide berth from them. You got to keep a distance. So I understand that, but it just seems like in this country, there's no support system for a lot of men that are going through it psychologically. There's millions of men, young men that don't have a job, um, them going to college, like they feel like that's worthless in a lot of ways unless it's a trade. And even in the trade, a lot of these trades I'm hearing is that, a lot of these older guys are being assholes to the new guys, and they don't want to train them right. They want to, they're just being asses, so you got to get the right company with that. And then if you get lucky, you may get the right company of people that can show you the way, but that's not going to be everybody. Not everybody's going to get through the gates of heaven. Most people are going to go through the gates of hell. And most people were already in the gates of hell. Like we live lives of hell. We live lives of torment. We live lives of constant agony. We live lives of constant tragedy. Like a lot of us were in this position, you know, like we're in this position because we had a lot of negative events in our life happen and take place, and it's brutal because a lot of us, all we want is peace. But as this world goes on, do you see peace, or do you see the fomentation of battle? Of battle. In Europe, they had the 100 Years War. Then they had then they had the Wars of the Roses, the 30 Years War. Can you imagine having a war that lasts the whole century? You know, but back in the days, this was just common. It was just like it was normal to be, you know, in a situation of constant perpetual warfare. So what does that tell you about this existence? And every culture has it. Every culture, every ethnicity, they all have stories of battle throughout their history, and they all have stories of supernatural elements, from the start of their civilizations. And nowadays, it's like we're so far removed from that. We're so far removed from true true individuality and true real spirituality. I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about real spirituality, you know, finding out who you really are. Instead of calling yourself a middle manager for a company, who are you really? No, what do you really like to do? Who are you really? How do you really express your soul? How do you really express your innovation and your creativity that Sophia gave you? So Sophia the goddess. Like, how do you express yourself, right? Because like we're taught from an early age to respect ranks and titles and people's position. Like if somebody comes to you and asks you, "Oh, so what do you do for a living?" And if you say, "I'm a doctor," they're like, "Oh, wow." They're going to automatically give you respect. They're going to automatically look at you in a certain way. Like, this person's a doctor. That means this person is hardworking, they're dedicated, they're focused, and this. And that may not all be true because there's different types of doctors, and there's different. And what I've been seeing lately, especially, you know, where my family passed away at, the doctors there were horrible. They did a lot of misdiagnosis. They gave extra medicine when they weren't supposed to, and then that resulted in somebody having, a stroke and this, that, and the third. And like there's things there's certain procedures they should have known that they just don't take seriously. And then I did notice that it is based on skin color configuration a lot of times. Like that does play a role in it. I've seen it with my own eyes, right? So it's like I never want to end up in a situation where I'm in the hospital and I'm surrounded by people who consider me, you know, not worthy of their dignity, and not worthy of them giving me the full treatment and cellular rejuvenation that I need. So this is why, this world is just cruel and it's evil. And you got to deal with this every single day. Every day you got to deal with drama. You got to deal with problems. You got to deal with new things that are coming at you. And all we can do is stay strong, and keep our head up the best way that we can. But I know it gets difficult when you especially don't got no support, and then it's when you're trying to achieve your dreams, when you're trying to go for things that people think is impossible, it's very difficult. It's very difficult because it's hard to have any type of belief if you have nobody around that even thinks you can even do it. And hell, they think that you can never do it. You know, yeah, a lot of people who doubt you never ever tried to help you and never even spoke good of you in the first place. It's a brutal world, and it's a even more brutal reality that we're facing. To constantly and consistently be under attack, it's like, damn. I know this is a hell realm, but my God, it's like it's just relentless. It's like a constant barrage. You know, I think in World War II, the Soviets would mount like um, rocket launchers on the back of those old Soviet trucks in World War II, and then they would like try to bombard the German positions or whatever. I think it was called Stalin's organ. I think it was called. That's how life feels like. It's just like constantly getting bombarded by enemy artillery, like it's some old school World War II battle or some battle of Napoleon. You know, it's brutal. You know, but we got to stay strong, man. Peace.